Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Spill the Tea, a podcast by Penang Institute. My name is Pei Jung and I will be your host today. And today I am extremely happy to be hosting Mangleswary Subraniam. She is the head of Division of Women's Empowerment and Leadership of Penang Women's Development Corporation. And today she is here to talk to us about a very important campaign that is happening throughout November and December this year, which is Penang Goes Orange. Mangles, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Pei Jung, and to Penang Institute for giving us this space to share about the Penang Goes Orange campaign.
Oh, we are definitely very excited and very interested to know more about the campaign because we do understand that it's a very important campaign that has been running for quite a while, and it's basically centered on how do we combat or stop violence against women. So would you share with our listeners, because there may be some people who don't know about this campaign, so can you tell us more about the Penang Goes Orange campaign in general? How long has the campaign been running and what are the primary objectives?
Yes, you are right actually. This is one of the most important campaign, and what we as Penang Heights we can be proud of is that is just one of the kind of campaign that the state leads. So Penang Goes Orange was we started to do it annually 11 years back, so that means we started Penang Goes Orange in 2014, the very first.
That's more than a decade. Congratulations.
Yeah. And basically we are running this campaign to raise awareness on various type of violence that is taking place among women and children and how to eradicate it. It starts on 25th November on the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and ends on 10 December, Human Rights Day. And why Penang Goes Orange? Why orange? Huh?
Yes, why orange?
So basically this color symbolizes a future free from violence.
That's good to know. And then I understand that every year Penang Goes Orange actually has different themes. So you have different kind of things that you are focusing on yearly when you run the campaign. Can you tell us more about the main theme for this year's campaign and why was this particular theme chosen this year?
So this year, our campaign theme is actually Swipe to Stop. So when we hear the word swipe, you know it's something related to online. So basically, it's Swipe to Stop Online Sexual Violence would be the theme for this year. And annually, this is what we do. We will do a desk research beginning of the year to find out, okay, what would be the violence should we talk about this year? What is the pressing issue? Nationwide. So last year was more on anti-bullying.
Yes.
So this year when we were doing desk research, we actually found out that there are a lot of cases covered and a lot of suicidal cases related to online bullying and all of that among youth. But then we could not really find much data or research done on it. So what we did was that in the beginning of the year, we did a simple survey with a very small number of people just to have an idea, what's going on, how prevalent is this online violence is among our small group of this Penang Heights. And when in that research itself, we found out that about 72% have experienced some sort of online violence, and most of them were youth, and 60% of them actually did not seek any support, even though they were having suicidal thoughts.
Wow.
So that's the reason why this year we focused on this issue and basically to emphasize to create a safe digital space.
I see. Definitely that's very important because we have been hearing about it and reading about it in the news about especially how people will receive anonymous messages, things like bullying as well. But in this sense, Mangles, how does online sexual harassment differ from real life harassment?
Well, for me, if I look at it, from my years I've been working on online violence victims for the past 14 years. So what I could say is that actually online harassment is an extension of what is happening in real life. It's not a separate thing. So what do I mean by this is, but what he does is that it magnifies the violence. So example would be like, let's say someone is being raped.
Yes.
It's a one-off incident. But if the perpetrator, the rapist, decides to record the incident and then uses what he records to further extort the victim, either for sexual favors or for money, so the violence repeats itself. And let's say if the perpetrator decides to upload the video online, so the continuity of the violation against that woman continues, even though not physically on her body, but what happened keeps on continuing. It will be repeated online, and it goes on and on. So this is what I meant by it's an extension of what is happening in the real life.
Oh, thank you so much for explaining that. I would have never pieced it together in that way. And that actually sounds quite, it's quite depressing for the victims if they have encountered it in real life and then it's perpetuated ongoing even in online. So it's like they can't even escape virtually, as we would say. So in this sense, Mangles, what are some of the most prevalent forms of online sexual harassment? So just now you talk about like things like videos and things like that. So, and I know there's definitely been things like sexually harassing messages, but what are some of the other forms that you found was prevalent in your years of advocating for survivors?
Okay, so one of the most common one I've seen is that sharing of non-consensual intimate images. So basically what do I mean by this is that when someone is dating or married, so they may have shared some intimate images among themselves. So when the relationship breaks, so what we could see is that a lot of time the other partner, as a form of retaliation, they actually circulate the pictures. So sometimes this woman only finds out 5 years later that her video has been circulated. Or there might be some of it might be immediate within a week or a month. And then another thing that is now going on with the AI and everything is that deepfake pornography. So it's just that a normal person's picture is attached to another video or images and, performing sexual acts. The other part, which is much common among partners, is that cyber stalking. So what we have seen is that stalking in the sense of like one is to locate where your partners are, the movement of your partners. But the other part also we saw is that they are monitoring the conversations the partners. That means they have a spyware in the partner's phone. And then they are able to monitor, okay, who are the partners having conversation with, and with the parents and all of that. So it's basically stalking their partners. And the other part, which is very dominant in domestic violence, is that installing CCTV just to monitor what people inside the house is doing. It's not about keeping the thief away, but basically to see what is my wife doing or what my children are doing. So it's basically that is happening. And the other one is catfishing. That means catfishing is basically it's a combination of online impersonation plus grooming. That means they target people and they establish trusting relationship before exploiting them sexually, especially. And then of course the other one is online impersonation, which has more into to defame someone or to extort someone for things. So these are the common things that we usually see in cases that we have handled.
Okay, just a couple of questions on the forms that you just explained. So in terms of when you say they install spyware or GPS trackers on their partners' phones or the CCTV cameras, are these usually done without the partner's knowledge and consent, or was the partner bullied into it? What's your experience with that?
It's depending. It's always, when it comes to partner violence, it's about the dynamic in the relationship. Most of the time, the partner is not aware. But when you have like CCTV, the husband is monitoring and all of that, the partner is aware, but then they do not have the power to say, no, you can't do it.
And the other question I want to ask is about grooming and catfishing. So if I were to think about the online literature that I have read about grooming especially, is it more prevalent among younger people? As in the person who's being groomed is usually a very young person, or age doesn't really matter in this sense?
If we look at the type of violence, actually age doesn't matter, because when you're grooming, especially when it's online, what happens is that if you spend a long period of time, it doesn't even actually have to be a long period. Let's say for a week, I keep talking to you from every 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Automatically, my brain goes like, at this 10 o'clock, I need to talk to you.
Yes. It's like
it's like
conditioned
yeah.
into it.
And when you are actually speaking to someone online, especially, your whole mind is so focused on that person. So it's easy for me to build that trust, because my brain reads, this is an important person in my life. And the other part we have also looked at is that we are actually sitting in our own home or in our own safe space when we are talking to the other person. So at the other part is that your own body's nervous system is at relax.
Yes.
So it will be very different when you are talking to a stranger physically in a restaurant, for say. You'll be more cautious. But this doesn't take place when you are actually at home, in your safe space, and you're talking to someone online and you're relaxed.
Yeah.
And you're continuously doing it, so your brain reads this person is an important person, trustworthy. So it's easier to groom anyone.
And
so
it's sort of like you're letting down your guard as well when you talk about feeling like you're in a safe space because you're at home. Then your guard obviously would be
low.
The walls are lower. Yes.
Or no walls at all.
Yeah, which makes it easier for the perpetrator.
Definitely. So for children, if you really could see, it's basically more on sexual exploitation. But for adults, this is where the scam comes in. So that's the reason why we can have so many adults being scammed, because it's basically they feel that they could trust this person.
But just on a little bit back to the campaign itself, so I had the privilege of being one of the earliest people to view the campaign video, which I found was very realistic. It really resonates. Do you want to talk a little bit about the campaign video and what inspired it?
Okay, basically it was inspired by all the real life stories we have heard. But most of the time when sometimes the videos we have seen, when they showcase the perpetrators, when it comes to sharing of online, sexual intimate images, it's always they villainize the perpetrators and making them look more than real life villains.
Yes.
Yeah. So when we were creating this video, we wanted to make it look like as normal as possible. So there's no dramatic elements in it. So what we saw is that when in the programs I've done previously with boys and young boys and girls, is that sometimes they just, they just share things just like how I would share my picture when I go for hiking to you.
Yes.
So it's just like, hey, look. It's like, the sharing of, I've got this trophy. Look, I have a hot girlfriend. So it's just because now taking intimate images does not have to go through many filters like before. Before when we are using films, you have to catch it in the film. You need to get to a shop to, wash it and,
develop it.
So,
and you would not want the shop owner to see? Look at those images.
So nowadays there is no more like filtrations,
or
it's
barriers.
Like barriers. That's the word. Yeah. So it's basically I take a picture and just forward it, thinking that nobody else will be able to have access. It's just for his eyes. But the person receiving it may not take it in a way that is a confidential, it's a private thing.
Yes.
They may like, wow, see, I have a girlfriend, so hot, she's willing to share with me these things. It's like, how about you? It's more to a competition.
Yeah, which was what the video was about, because the girl was pressured into it because the boyfriend was trying to have a kind of a competition, which is why I find the filming and the tone of the video it's very realistic, and I'm glad that PWDC and the state government didn't take the direction of dramatizing it, because if you dramatize it, it looks like a movie or whatever. I think it would not resonate as strongly as it did.
Yeah, and we did get a good response, especially for young people, saying that, wow, we didn't know this was wrong. We didn't know this was a crime.
Oh.
So, so it's just that, as I say, it's just like another activity in their daily life, and because people are, when it comes to digital literacy, people are not really aware about the do's and don'ts and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why this is happening, and it's just,
Do you feel that it's a more significant problem among the young people?
Okay, for me, when I look at online violence, is something that cuts across the age. But what makes young people vulnerable is basically, one is the digital connectivity, meaning that through socialization, through education, for entertainment, a lot of time young people are online. Their presence online has increased, especially after the COVID. Your classes takes place online. You interact with people online. You go on meeting online. So the online presence have increased. And then the other part is also, because it's online, it's 24/7. It means that if I get bullied in school, last time it just remained there physical, so I will be bullied again when I go to school. But now, I'll be bullied in school. When I go back home, they've already created a hate blog, and they've been sharing all sort of hatred messages and spamming me with it. So it continues 24/7.
It's like what you said about the real life harassment continuing into online harassment. So it's kind of like there's no stop to it, and that's very difficult.
True. Yeah. And the other part is the vulnerability due to the psychological development of youth. So the vulnerability comes with it. One is that a lot of time, this is the age where it's important for them because they're forming their identity. So peer validation is important.
Yes.
But then, so the peer validation now is that how many likes you get for your post, how popular you are on social media.
How many followers do you have?
Yes. Yeah. So that make it easier for them to be manipulated or exploited online. And then, of course, the pressure, like in the video, the pressure to share, because if not, you are a prude. Everybody is doing it.
So or that your girlfriend is, doesn't love you as much as you think she does.
Yeah. And that's one of the words usually the boys use to, do you love me? Do you trust me? So, and the girl feels the pressure that, usually the partner will feel the pressure that I have to show it by doing this. And another part is also the hyper sexualization of things. Even recently there was like a TikTok when they're selling stuff, also everything is like sexualized.
Yes, yeah.
So it also put them into a more vulnerable position. Yeah. And overall, it's basically the digital literacy gap, where people are unaware of the risk they face and also how to protect themselves.
In this sense, do you feel that the anonymity of internet actually makes this worse? Like, because online, right, anyone can be anyone. Like the online identity, most of the time is anonymous. I can say my name is Bob, and nobody would know that actually I'm a woman. So do you think that this actually makes it worse?
Definitely. Definitely, anonymity is like, you may think it's somebody else from far doing it, but sometimes it's your own best friend doing it to you.
Yeah.
In certain cases, that's where we saw. And also the action at distance. It means that I do not need to be near you to hurt you. It's just one click from anywhere. I don't even have to know you. With a click, I can destroy your reputation. And the other part is, it's very automatic. As I say, it's just a click. It doesn't require any time, any effort.
One button.
Yes, that's it. And the easy accessibility, like when we talked about the spywares. The spy cameras, anything you can order online.
Yeah.
And it's so cheap. And you just have to place it somewhere and nobody knows. So affordable tech, easy access to it, and basically you just have to upload one video, and then after that everything organically will be shared, so circulated, uploaded in different platforms. So you just have to, you don't have to do
because
anything.
once it's online, it's forever.
Yeah. Agree.
So if in such a situation where, you know, online sexual harassment is getting really kind of like widespread and it's been going on also because, like you said, because of the digital age, how are the emotional and psychological impacts on the victims? Have you done any kind of counseling before, Mangles, or have you encountered how do I guess counselors usually deal with it? How are the victims helped?
Okay, so what happens is that actually the victims go to have a cocktail of emotions. It can be start from like a shock, like, oh my God,
what's happening?
And denial, because we also have cases where like, it's not my boyfriend, it should be his friend. Then our question is that if your boyfriend didn't give the access, his friend will not have that access.
Yes.
So you have to know the one who have done it is the one who you trust, who's close to you. Okay? And from there, the anxiety steps in, the fear steps in. Now, okay, my family will find out. So what will happen? Who sees? And the worst part is that each time they step out, when a person just look at them also, for them it's like they are staring at me. So they become so conscious about themselves.
Paranoid.
And then that's where they start to isolate themselves from the world. And then all the other thoughts will start to dominate them, where it could be depression coming in, suicidal thoughts coming in. And what we could also see is that then they will have trust issues. After that, establishing intimate images will be a challenge for them. They can't trust. It's like, I've trusted once and I've already faced it. And then also self-harm is not only suicidal thoughts, but also like drugs or alcohol. It's just because they could not cope with whatever that is happening. And it impacts their reputation. That means sometimes some of them dropped out from colleges, dropped out from work, because their reputation is damaged. And re-victimization also happened, meaning that once their video is uploaded, there might be some other harassers contacting them, and the harassment goes on.
I'm just wondering, how can we, maybe the question more of is that, how can we make people understand the consequences of this? I mean, even to the perpetrators, right? You are just clicking a button or forwarding an image. But how do we make people understand these are the consequences of your one click, your one share?
So this is why campaigns like this, outreach programs are important, because the more we talk about it, the more awareness we start to raise, more conscious people will be. Like I share with you, when young people saw the video, the first thing that came to their mind, I didn't know this was a crime. So, because they are not aware, because it's just that the technology developed so fast that we are running to catch it, and our children, especially our young people, are already into it because they were born into that age. So now it's like our time to see what can we do to raise that awareness, and I'm glad Penang as a state is coming together with 40 plus more partners to raise this awareness.
Because in my head, I'm just thinking, how do we make people understand that, you know, you could be in this position as well. Like today you are the perpetrator, tomorrow you might be
the victim. Yeah.
So I think it's important for that understanding to come across, especially to young people. And I'm glad that Penang actually has campaigns addressing this, and PWDC does so much work, and WCC as well, in addressing all of these issues. So in this sense, what can individuals do to actually protect themselves from online sexual harassment?
So one is always strengthening your online privacy. That means what are the informations you share about yourself online. Even though you're registering for a platform, keep it minimal. And then the privacy setting. So make sure you don't keep sharing all your location wherever you go. I'm here, I'm there. So it's easy for your stalker to stalk you as well. Or you're telling, okay, from this date to this date, I'll be here. This day to this day, I will not be at home. So please come and, you can rob my house, sort of thing.
This reminds me of that one thing that Facebook has. Well, I'm not exactly on Facebook nowadays, but I remember that used to be this check-in thing. Like, I've just checked in at what and what cafe, or I'm here, or whatever is it. So that's also kind of like telling people where you are all
Definitely.
the time.
Yeah. And then your passwords. So when you have your password, make sure you have a strong password. And remember, just because you are dating someone, it doesn't mean that you can trust them and give the password. Because a lot of time we saw was that once the relationship breaks, the first thing the partner does is that go and change the password of your account and then start to post things that can damage your reputation. Sorry. So these are the things we saw. So always remember, your online passwords are like your underwear. It needs to be confidential.
Confidential, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then digital footprint we talked about. Always think before you post anything. Because you may delete it in your account, but it does not mean that it's not shared anywhere else.
Yeah.
It cannot be seen anywhere else. Because once you go online, it remains there.
Yeah.
And use secure platforms, because if you're doing financial transaction and everything, you always use secure platforms. And then another important thing is setting boundaries, in meaning that if you start to receive unwanted messages and everything, ignore, and always remember, block and report online is your best friend. So if you feel uncomfortable, quickly block or report.
Well, I think block and report can be a tagline as well. Yeah. So earlier on, Mangles, you said that a lot of the victims that were sexually harassed online, they actually don't report it or they don't tell people about it. So I would gather that probably shame is a big part of it. But what are the other factors that stop people from telling people about it or even seeking help?
Okay, so most of the time is shame, and then the other part is that fear of how people would perceive them and being judged. And the other part is also when you take such an intimate picture and you're going to go and make a report, how many eyes going to see it? And they're going to look at the picture and also look at you. So these are few reasons why people are not reporting. And the other part is also people do not know where should I go and report, to whom should I report, or where can I seek psychosocial support to make me understand, do I want to really report this, or is something that I can let go? Because sometimes, there are things like sharing intimate images and everything, you need to put a stop to it. You need to report it. But there are some things like you feel harassed or somebody flashes their dick on your Facebook page or something like that. So that's a different way of handling it.
It's like your pictures and other people's pictures.
So always, so it's always good if you could go to institutions that provide psychosocial support or advisors on what can be done. So you will know what you need to do, and you have a better people to support, because it's always they do not have people who can support them too, because usually in these cases people say, who asked you to send? Who asked you to respond?
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. How do we challenge these harmful norms, especially women? I feel that when it comes to intimate images, you made a very good point just now. The automatic reaction, if they choose to share, the automatic reaction will be like, well, who asked you to take such photos? Or, oh, you must be, loose morals that you would take such photos. And I think these kind of stereotypes or this type of thought actually stops the victims from reporting or sharing and instead choose to suffer by themselves when they could have seek help, right? So how do we challenge these? Because I feel that especially women, you're always being looked differently even though when you are a victim. And I feel that society hasn't come a very long way in addressing this as well.
So important is to cultivate accountability culture. What do I mean is that instead of questioning the victim, the one we need to question is the perpetrator.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Someone trusted you, so why do we make that as a norm? Usually the word man are man, they don't think about all of this.
Boys are boys.
Yeah.
It's just a joke.
So it's the culture of accountability. You did it, you need to take accountability. And then we need to call out on harmful behaviors. So when boys are doing, especially boys, when boys are doing it, we need to ask, like, why are you doing this? This is not appropriate. Don't you know it's not appropriate? Like, let's say there's a video someone posted and you can see a lot of comments degrading the person. The first thing you could have actually go down is like, please do not do that. If you do not like this video or you feel this video is not appropriate, just use the report and block button. Or just skip. So to cultivate is that it's not just because somebody put something out there, it means that you can behave vulgarly. And then the other part also we have to look at is that the platform providers. Because there are a lot of platform providers. Some platforms do have certain measurements to protect young people, young children below 18. But then a lot of it does not really have safety measures. So how platforms, because they do make money profit out of
Yes, of
this.
course, yeah.
So how would you make sure it's user-friendly? What are the safety measurements you're going to have? So when something like this happens and your user reports, how quickly you're going to react? How quickly you're going to act on it? And of course, state policies, because I'm glad that now they're drafting a law on the cyber on online safety. But yeah, we could have done much faster.
Yeah, faster.
So better. And support for survivors, because more we talk about this, the more we make people be aware. How come people can become victim, like we had this conversation. So the more understanding on the survivors' narrative will be able to have people, empathize better with the survivors.
Yeah, I think that's a key point, that we definitely need more empathy for the survivors and not to lay the blame or the fault on them. So just now you talk about reporting mechanisms. Can you share with us what are the reporting mechanisms? Because you also said that a lot of people actually don't know that there are ways that they can report this.
Yes. So the first foremost one is internal reporting, where you can actually report in the platform itself. So basically, if you do not want to take it to the law, so you just report or block in the platform itself. But if you feel that you need further protection and you're safe and you are in fear for your safety, so one, you can make a police report with the PDRM. But when we say make the report, there are certain things that is important for you to bring along. So one, you need all the screenshot of the conversations, pictures, the website. And when you're taking those pictures, make sure the IP address is seen, so that's where they are able to investigate.
Yes.
And we have to remember, once we report in the platform, and when they remove the content, then it will be difficult for the police or the Multimedia Commission,
to track it down,
will be MCMC to be able to take action. So decide if you are going to make a report to the state agencies. Screenshot. If you have messages sent by the perpetrators, don't delete it, because most of the time when victims get scared, they delete.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a knee-jerk response. I don't want to see this on my phone, right?
Yeah. The fear and the anxiety, they delete. So we would say don't. Screenshot, keep the messages, and then you can go to the police station, make a report directly at the police station, or you can also make report to MCMC. But sometimes what MCMC will require is that they will need a copy of your report to the police as well.
Okay.
So one of the easiest way, because MCMC provides a few ways through email, hotline, and WhatsApp. So maybe you can use their WhatsApp 016-220-6262 to make the report.
I see. So has there been any successful prosecution of cases like this, where the online perpetrator actually receives a punishment for what they've done? Even Malaysia, internationally, can you think of any cases or anything like that?
Even in Malaysia, we have like few cases that been punished. One was a case where she shared her ex-boyfriend's picture and she was charged under the Multimedia Act 223. But of course, when we also see that a lot of cases did not move even after 4 years.
Yeah.
Even though there is already informations and all given, but it did not move. So when it comes to this, time sensitivity is also not there. So what we would say is that if with a clear, and the other issue also here I could say is that sometimes for victims when they're reporting, they have to go to PDRM separately, to MCMC separately. So coming with a better law, better effective way, SOP on handling this type of cases, just like how we would do with domestic violence act or anything related to children. I think we should have a better mechanism on how this report take place, because yes, there are cases has been prosecuted, but it's not enough because there are so many more cases which is still pending.
Yeah, I was thinking of the same thing, because especially when you say that, if you report to MCMC, then you need a copy of the police report and all of it. So if the process is simpler, more streamlined, and does not cost the person who's been going through all this harassment like a lot of running around or, repeatedly have to do the same action over and over again, then that would be probably much easier and would be more, people will be more encouraged to report because they feel that, okay, it's going to be dealt with, right? Because I report, it's going to be dealt with. But if it's going to take 4 years, I mean, even as a victim, you'll be like, then why bother, right?
So agree, because like if I went and make a police report, and they say this issue, this involves an online element. So maybe there's a way from police, this information goes to MCMC. I do not have to go separately to MCMC. So it saves the victims, the hustle the victim has to be, they from one end to the other end. And they may not be in the right mindset to be able to deal with this. And also to look at the needed psychosocial support that is needed by the victim when they go to one of these agencies to make reports. It's like, because people will be not in the right mind and situation due to the violence they are facing.
Yeah. So in this sense, like even the people at MCMC or the police officers, they need to have their empathy as well.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I think that's very important for our people of the law enforcement to have that understanding that it's not the victim's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been quite a lot of sharing from you. Thank you, Mangles.
Thank you.
Finally, I want to talk a little bit about Penang Goes Orange itself. So how did you start the campaign work? Like, how does your team prepare for it? What are some of the first things you did? Because you said just now that one of the earliest things you did was the research into looking at the team. Then what's the kind of work that follows next?
Okay. So, of course, because it's a state campaign, we need to get the buy-in from our ESCO YB Lim Swee Kim. So we presented our idea and our findings to her, and we were happy. She was like 100% with us, and she said, okay, go ahead, start working on it. So, and for this campaign, we actually have few components. The first one was actually the survey, state survey that we have done on the prevalence of online sexual violence among Penangites. So we were like, okay, who has the capacity to, provide the platform to monitor and give us an update. So the first agency we reached out to was Digital Penang. And of course, I would just say that all the government-linked companies that we actually reached out to support us in this campaign came forward. We didn't have to do much convincing. They were like, great, I'm in it.
That's great, yeah.
So that's how, when that's where Penang Digital came in to provide us this platform for the survey. And of course, when it comes to analysis of the data and everything, we were like, okay, who would be the best if it's not Penang Institute, So we reached out to you. And of course, I didn't have to do much convincing here. It's like, Pey Jung, hey, can you? It's just, okay, that's great. Let's do it,
Yeah,
So-
well, I do feel that, in our initial discussion, I also told you that I think it's very important.
Yeah.
And like you said, not a lot of work has been done
Yep.
for it. So I'm happy to be on board. Yeah,
Yes.
PI is happy to be on board.
And then after that, we reached out to Penang Youth Development Corporation because for Penang women, we are more, our reach is more to women who are much older. So we need to reach the younger age group too. So we approached PYDC, Penang Youth and YB Daniel Gui as well. So, it's like two excos coming in and say, we are supporting this project, what you all need. And then, of course, we reach out to UITM, Campus Pulau Pinang, the Cawangan Pulau Pinang, and also a few other higher learning institutions like IPK and all. And everybody was like, okay, what do you need? So you need participants, you need respondents, let us help you with it. So we have about 40 plus partners coming in, and so the survey, and then we produced the PSA video for the social media campaign, and which is also supported by our partners. And then we also reached out to MNCs like Flextronics, who came in as well to support us.
As a sponsor?
And also, to run the Orange Day activity in Flextronics as well.
Wow.
And then our community partners right now, if you could see, they're actually arranging various activities on the ground with young people, with the community, to make sure the messaging goes down to the community.
That's great. So all these positive experiences, and I'm so happy and excited to hear about it. But are there any challenges, like some difficulties that the team has encountered?
The challenges is always to how to make this whole campaign enticing to the youth. It's like, how do we get more youth to say, hey, this is about me, I want to be a part of it. So that's where we've been like pushing and to make sure we get more youth, because what we always get a call from is people from the age 36 above. Hey, how come we cannot join? It's like we have this Orange Challenge on 7 December.
Yeah.
So we have put in, because we really want to make sure that it reaches those from the age of 18 to 35. So we have put it, that's the age. And we are trying to push this number among that group. But then we've been getting calls and messages like, how come we want to join? How come? We say, okay, come and join the morning one. The morning activities is for everyone.
For everyone, yeah.
So, and for the Orange Challenge especially, Digital Penang worked on augmented reality platform. So that means they are doing a digital exploration. Besides the physical activities, they will also be competing on a digital platform.
Wow.
So
That's exciting, and that's something very new, right?
Yes. And of course, it was not easy because they really worked hard to make it happen, make it work. Even 2 days ago, we were still test running it.
I see. Yeah. So, Mangles, I understand that the Penang Goes Orange event on the 7th is public, right? Like anyone can come and join and take part in the activities.
Yes.
So, can you let our listeners know where do they go and what kind of activities will be available, and also sort of a little bit of a promotion for Penang Goes Orange?
Thank you so much. So the event will be taking place on 7 December, Saturday, at UITM, Campus Pulau Pinang, Cawangan Pematang Pau, which is in Seberang Perai Tengah. So in the morning is the main event where we will start from 10 o'clock onwards. So we'll be having a launch, and with YB Lim Swee Kim and YB Gui will be doing the opening speech and launching of the campaign. Together we will also have the police, MCMC, as well as WCC in the forum talking about the reporting mechanism in more detail and the type of psychosocial support provided and how important all of this are. So I think whoever comes in will be able to go back with all the needed information so they will be able to help themselves and people around them. And in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, we'll be starting the Augmented Reality Orange Challenge, the Digital Explore Race. And we are still, the platform is, if you follow our Facebook page, our Insta, you can register for the program. So it's still open, so we would like people to join the race. And then there are some good cash prizes to be won.
That's always enticing.
Yes, cash prizes and also hampers and all of that. So we would love people to join. But of course, 3 in a group, and each group should have either a male or female. It's not all same gender. So we would love people to come and join.
Great. Thank you so much, Mangles. So to everyone who's listening, 7th of December, which day is it, Mangles?
Saturday.
Which is a Saturday. So if you want to join in the festivities and support the campaign, you could head to UiTM, but register first with PWDC. Thank you again, Mangles, for spending time with us and raising awareness to such an important issue. We're very glad to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Pei Jung. Thank you for the support you're giving us.
Thank you.